Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is KPZ. You are here on the home of the Slightly Above Average Ship Review. Alright, got a tech tree spotlight here. The Royal Navy Tier 6 battleship King George V. We're in a match on neighbors. We are top tier. As you can see, no destroyers. That's a good thing. Aircraft carrier, not necessarily a good thing for the King George. For those of you who haven't gotten this far yet, kind of has a weird turret arrangement. As you can see, this quad turret in the rear. There's another quad turret in the front. And then a twin rifle turret that's super firing over the top of that front turret. So essentially, you can put 6 guns on target if you are bow tanking, like we just threw out there at the Leon. And we also got a North Carolina over here. So we drew kind of the heavyweight battleships on this side, I guess you could say. I am running Charles Madden, so I am doing a survivability build. Leon is turning away. The North Carolina is really not shooting at me. And I will attempt a rear turret salvo at the Graf Spee all the way across the map to limited success. While we're doing that, let's talk about the ship really quickly. Quote-unquote, the most modern British battleships in commission during the Second World War, 5 ships in the ship class. This ship was kind of designed in theory that the Washington Naval Treaty might be lifted. What did the King George do? In an article about the King George, they're talking a lot about the Prince of Wales. First, it collided with a destroyer, HMS Punjabi. So it got sent to repair, was doing escort duties. Blah, blah, blah. We're still talking about the Duke of York for some reason. Good grief. Anyway, they're still talking about the Duke of York in an article allegedly describing the history of the King George V, in which the Duke of York is mentioned like 100 times, and King George V is mentioned as an aside. But since we're not doing anything in the match to speak of, just shooting at the Leon and the North Carolina to limited success, we can keep reading this entirely uninformative article, courtesy of Wikipedia. Alright, King George was sent to the Pacific along with some other ships, including Howe. I'm unsure if the Howe is a battleship or not.
Concentrate fire on the
I guess it is, also in the King George class. Blah, blah, blah. Night bombardment of Hamamatsu. Presumably that's in the Ryukyu Islands. Blah, blah, blah. And it still keeps talking about the Duke of York. So basically, the Duke of York is doing all the work, and the King George is there, apparently, according to this article, of which I'm going to say is probably very dubious, and it's also on Wikipedia. All right, because the North Carolina was bow tanking me, we switched to HE. Don't sleep on the HE of any English battleship. It is very good HE. The best fire percentage, if I'm remembering that correctly, of any ship in the game that is a battleship, generally speaking, per class. So what I said in a lot of words there was that generally, Royal Navy battleships have the best fire chance HE in the game. I think Russia might be number 2. All right, so we're shooting with limited success. We've got about 10,000 hit points. And I'm done looking at Wikipedia because that article didn't tell me shit. All right, site records on WoW's builds, damage record, which we won't get anywhere near. Speaking of nears, we're getting nearer to the North Carolina and smashing it with our HE. 227,750. The base XP record, even more mind-blowing, 4,957 in this ship. All right, can we kill Pinch the Pensacola? Let's see, our secondaries, Pensacola's kind of dead in the water. Maybe didn't even load into the match. The answer is yes. We switched armor piercing because now we got the North Carolina. I am cognizant of the Leon being just off our starboard bow on the other side of the island, so that's why I've pretty much thrown it to full reverse. The North Carolina, we're going to fire one salvo of AP kind of into his turret area and really mess him up. And then we switch to HE because we're good like that. But I'm also hoping that my secondaries will just get the job done. Anyway, I guess we burned him down. Who knows? Kill number 2. All right, rounding the corner to deal with the Leon. As we do that, the Sigma value of the King George V is 1.8. That's comparatively to like 1.9 for the rest of the ships that I've seen. So after this match, I swapped out the fighter plane for the spotter plane. Also because in this match, I launched my spotter plane. It doesn't get any kills. So I think this is one of the examples of a spotter plane that really sucks ass. So I wouldn't count on the spotter plane. Did that ship turn on a cloaking device? What the hell happened there? It disappeared in open water. WTF, Ouija. It's not a submarine. Alright, so we're moving in on the Leon. I'm pissed off at Wargaming. Really quickly, high explosive shells, fires per minute 2.39. Armor piercing shells, the arming threshold 59 millimeters. The overmatch 25 millimeters. That's a little bit lower than I think we're used to seeing 67 and 27 for the ships preceding this, or some of the premiums. As you can see here, we're not having any problem dealing with the Leon, mostly because I did not give him a lot of broadside, and I have a lot of heals going on, but before we can shoot him, somebody else gets killed there. And that's just, it is what it is. Alright, got a Fuso out there. We're going to save the stat comparison of Wild's builds for later on in the game. And I'm sure you're all eagerly looking forward to that. Alright, Fuso out here. I've yet to go up the Japanese battleship line in my channel, so I really don't know a lot. But I see this Colorado giving me a lot better broadside at a lot less chance of being punished. And why I say that is the Colorado's turrets are facing away from me. The Fuso's turrets, if that was the Japanese ship we were just shooting at, his turrets are facing towards me. So I'm going to put my bow towards the Japanese battleship, and I'm going to shoot at the broadside Colorado and see how well that does for me. And right now, not very well. And this is an example of where I think if you had that spotter plane, might have seen a little more fruitful salvo there on that broadside Colorado. So don't be like me. Put in the spotter plane. But however, I would not use Cunningham on this ship. Basically, if it has HE penetration, HE damage, I use the survivability commander. There's a great salvo. Really punished the Colorado that time. He's going to die right there. We got a Miyoko coming over here too. So again, Miyoko, preferable target to a battleship. Prioritize the targets that are going to be easiest for you to kill. Here, he must be looking somewhere else. He's coming full broadside. He just got abso-smashed by someone else. That's a combination of absolutely and smashed I just made up. There again, accuracy counted against us. So another instance of where that spotter plane would have done really beneficial things for us in this game. Continuing to wait, he is not paying attention to me at all. And that's great. And he gets killed by the person he was shooting at. So that is not great. But since we conspicuously ignored the Fuso, now he is not paying attention to me anymore. And this is another strategy you can use in this game. If you ignore a ship, sometimes they will also ignore you in return. So the Fuso is turning a little bit towards us. That's not great. But he is ignoring us. And that allows me to put a couple shells at him. Now he's about to do something here that I don't understand at all. If I was the Fuso commander, I would have turned hard to port away from me, not giving me the broadside, instead giving me the stern profile. Instead, he's going to turn in, and by turning in, much like the Colorado, he orients his turrets away from my ship. So while he's not giving us a great angle, which is why I'm going to shoot up into the superstructure here, he made a cardinal mistake. You cannot turn your back on a Tier 6 battleship in a match where a Tier 6 battleship is top tier. You just cannot do that unless he has no help, and clearly that's not the case. I have tons of help. So he should have turned out to port. Instead, he turned in to starboard, and that was a huge mistake. Essentially a broadside salvo there. Citadel hit 8 penetrations, and he is hanging on the very cusp of death. Our secondaries occasionally are peppering him because those guys are busy getting their rum ration. For doing a great job. We did set him on fire, and that is the end of the Fuso right there. Alright, we've got over 100,000 damage. We've got a cruiser out there. We've got a carrier out there looking at the map. They appear to be far, far in the distance. So I will use this opportunity to talk about the stat comparison of this Tier 6 battleship. All right, there are 19 battleships at the tier. A lot of them are premiums. We chose hit points, firing range, armor-piercing DPM, max AA damage per second, and C detectability for our stats here in the King George V. In hit points, the Hood is number 1. I just reviewed that last week. The King George V is number 5 at the tier, so about 7,200, or exactly 7,200 hit points less than the Hood. The lowest ship again is the Ragnarok and the Ignis Purgato, which appear to be very similar ships. All right, firing range. Scharnhorst again number 1 at the tier, 17.9. The King George V is 10th, 16.0, tied with the Nelson, the Ignis Purgato, and the Ragnarok. Armor-piercing DPM. Number 1 is Leon, 304,000. Number 2, King George V, 252,000. And the last ship at the tier is the Peter Heinrich. Max AA damage per second. Number 1, North Carolina, 476. The King George V is 6th with 268. The last ship is the Peter Heinrich with 80. And C detectability. The most detectable ship is the Colorado, the Nagato, and the Strasbourg at 14.8. The King George V is 7th by number at 14.5. That is your stat comparison of this Tier 6 battleship. So the reason why I put the survivability commander in this ship and the Iron Duke is because in that screen where Wargaming tells about the traits, if it says HE damage and HE penetration, I build it for survivability, presuming that I'm going to be spamming a lot of HE and relying on surviving to keep myself alive throughout the match. Any other build, I put Cunningham in there. You know, look, your mileage may vary on how you build these ships, but that is how I determined which commander to put in here. So maybe with Cunningham, you'd have a much better game. I just don't know, because I haven't really run him in the ship. Of note will be that this, to this point, was my best game ever in the King George V. Just checking my main battery range there. If I ever see this aircraft carrier, which I really won't because we didn't get a lot of good spotting, and he went to the side of the map to hide. And I'm getting shot at by one of my teammates. And I totally lost my train of thought. But anyway, it's up to you if you do that. And I wanted to mention the match after this. I actually had a better match in terms of damage. And I was able to use my heals to hold the flank in a domination match. But at the end of the day, there really wasn't a lot of difference. In that match, I had 120,000 damage. That was my best match ever in the King George V. So I definitely think there's more to unlock here. Maybe I just don't have enough time behind the wheel of this ship. And to be honest, I don't play Royal Navy battleships that often. So that is probably the case. But, you know, you saw we went up against 2 same-tier battleships and were able to take one of them out. Maybe. Did we take one out? Did we take the North Carolina out? I think we did, yeah. We could have taken out the Leon. But we also saw some bad tactics employed by the enemy battleship drivers, especially what that Fuso did, turning in to put yourself sandwiched in between 2 battleships. You should never do that. I will probably clip that and use it in my introductory guide to battleships, which, based on a recent comment on one of my videos, I should be putting that out in the near future, although it won't be this week. But I will try to do that for you guys. And because I'm logged into YouTube under my other account, I can't name check the commenter who left that there, but I appreciated the comment nonetheless. Oh, wait a minute. I have a smartphone. Nothing is going to happen here on the screen. So let me look at my smartphone, and it will tell me the answer. Jacob Snyder. thank you for your comment. And so Jacob Snyder and everyone else, in theory, I'll make a introductory guide to, or an average player's guide to battleshipping, and have that coming out here maybe in the next update. Anyway, here we are on the victory screen. No medals, unfortunately. A lot of green ribbons. We did get some progress there. 114,728 total damage. We did shoot down 7 airplanes, but I think you'll agree the A isn't that great. We did have 3 kills and a Citadel hit. We ended up with 283,227 silver, 4980 ship XP and commander XP. There we are at the top of the board, folks. 2213 base XP, 3 big kills. Maybe not my best base XP game in the King George, and not my best damage game, but probably pretty close. Anyway, just wanted to see what I did there. Spectacular. I'm sure you'll all agree. All right, here in the port, let's take a look at the upgrades. Aiming System Mod 1. Damage Control System Mod 2. And Concealment System Mod 1. And the King George, the 5th, is fully upgraded. Taking a look at the loadout. 5 charges of the repair party. And 3 charges of the catapult fighter. And like I said, the catapult fighter didn't do anything for me in this game. So following this game, I switched to the spotter plane. And, you know, it's up to you, but at the end of the day, I don't think the catapult fighter is worth it. Permanent camouflage, type 9, and of course the 2-year strong flag. 60,500 hit points and a 22% torpedo damage reduction with our build. Got that 1 twin and 2 quad 356 millimeter guns as opposed to 381 before that, so that's why there's a drop in caliber. 15.9 kilometer firing range, 22.9 second reload, 33.3 second turn time. HE shells 6100 max damage, 41% fire chance. AP shells 10,500 max damage. Got those 8 twin 134 millimeter secondaries. They reload pretty slowly, and I guess we're just moving on to the AA. All right, your secondaries are dual purpose and do count as AA. Your best AA, 131 damage per second, is the 40 millimeter Mark 8 39 QF guns that only have a range of 2.6 kilometers. So when they're right over you, you can do some good work, but it is not great AA. Wow, I'm just blasting through these screens. All right, concealability, 12.4, 10.4 from the air, 12.5 when firing in smoke. As you can see, this was my best match ever in the King George, and I played 71 battles. So either I don't know what I'm doing in Royal Navy ships or whatever. But yeah, not great. All right, here is the armor view. Below water citadel, although it appears to be extremely large, and have a very lightly armored roof. The armor viewer does you no favors here. I guess this is a large, heavily armored casemate with a armor belt going up to 381. And in theory, that will protect you from AP bombs. All this green stuff likes to get set on fire, with the exception of that very small armor belt underneath the waterline, way underneath the waterline. Barbettes are heavily armored out of the casemate, but the roof are not heavily armored. But these very flat-faced turrets remind me a lot of English tanks, and that is not good. Flat face like that, they're going to punch right through that. So kudos for consistency, but it is a really bad design. All right, here's our Commander Charles Madden and the build I recommend for this ship. You can see we got Cunningham and D. Ravel as our inspirations, which may be of, opinions vary. But anyway, as we go through the commander skills, that is what I have for this match. I can't recommend Fight Fire with Fire enough. And I hope you enjoyed it. I can't proclaim that I'm really good at this ship. It just is what it is. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like button. I'll see you Thursday with another video.